Zacchaeus was a wee little man. A wee little man was he. That's right. We are talking about Zacchaeus this morning. Now you can read all about it in Luke chapter 19, which will tell you, listen up guys, listen up. Luke chapter 19 will tell you that Zach was a guy who was looked down on by a whole city. Now, one reason he was looked down on was the fact that he was a Jewish man working for the Roman government as a chief tax collector. Now, this did not make him very popular with the locals. Well, first, the Jewish people thought that Jewish tax collectors were actually traitors. Plus, the tax collectors could charge a little extra from the people and keep it for themselves. Now, this was how they made their living. But some tax collectors charged an excessive amount of taxes and kept the profit for themselves. Not a very honest thing to do, huh? And that infuriated people. Now, I don't think it ever crossed these guys' minds to treat others the way that they wanted to be treated. Well, the Bible tells us that Zacchaeus was a very wealthy man. Now, we can only assume that he made his great wealth by cheating his fellow Jews when he collected their taxes. Now, the other reason people looked down on him was, well, he was short. Now, one day word spread that this famous guy, Jesus, was coming through town. They began to gather along the street and wherever they could squeeze in so that they could get a glimpse of him. Well, the rumors were that Jesus was a prophet, a miracle worker. Now, some even believed that he might be the Messiah and Savior that the prophets spoke of. Well, Zacchaeus heard what folks were saying, and he decided he wanted to see this guy for himself. But because he was short and there was such a crowd, he couldn't see. So he ran ahead, and what did he climb, guys? A sycamore tree. Very good. Well, when Jesus arrived in the village, the whole crowd was buzzing. This was quite a big deal. What was he doing here? Why had he come? Does he have a message from God? Will he work a miracle? Where will he stay? Well, just then Jesus looked up in the tree and said, Zacchaeus, come down. I'm going to your house today. Well, everyone in the crowd was shocked. Yay! Shocked, I tell you. Jesus wanted to stay at the house of a sinner. You see, it was a big deal for Jesus to call Zacchaeus out like that. Basically, Jesus picked the least popular, most disliked man in the village and chose to hang with him for the day. Plus, Jesus even knew Zacchaeus by name, and Zacchaeus had never met him. For Jesus to choose Zacchaeus in front of everyone would be like the most popular kid in school choosing to hang out with the least popular kid in school for lunch for a week. Now, what an amazing show of love and grace. So, you bet your bottom dollar that Zach hopped down from that tree and took Jesus home to a big old steak dinner or whatever they served to special guests back then. And they sat and they talked. Now, we don't know for sure what they talked about. What do you guys think they talked about? Basketball? Think March Madness? Final Four? Shout it out. What do you think they talked about? God. The weather? God. Talked about God? Well, they might have jawed about some of the scores that were on, but knowing Jesus, they talked over some really important stuff, like the way Zach was living and treating the neighbors and the state of his heart and his relationship with God. Now, because when they were done talking, Zach had made a life-changing choice. Right then and there, he decided to turn away from his old life of cheating and scheming. It says in Luke 19, verses 8 through 10, But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Well, Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost. 4 times the amount, giving away half his stuff. Well, Zacchaeus was for real at this point. And he had already started living the new life that Jesus had given him. Jesus had changed him from the inside out. He was a new man. Now, what Jesus gave Zacchaeus was basically a do-over. Because of Jesus' forgiveness, Zacchaeus had the chance to start over. Zacchaeus' dishonesty had separated him from everyone else in his town. And not many wanted to be his friend, and certainly no one could trust him. So now he was on his own. But when Jesus came along and offered him love and forgiveness, he found a reason to give honesty another try. He admitted he was wrong and promised to make it right, which went a long way toward connecting him to his community again. And it was because of Jesus. We can find ourselves in the same place as Zacchaeus if we practice dishonesty. That's because truthfulness builds friendships, dishonesty tears them down.